sorry, Tony, but I'm angry as well. I was angry before the game. I've been angry for a long time.
He didn't hold his fire there, Roddy. What do you reckon?
I think he was a bit angry.
This week, it's not Phil who's angry.
Oh, I can't be angry every week, Ger.
Owen is, though. Owen's pissed.
Like, you better get out of my way because the fury is coming.
In the American sense as opposed to the Irish sense. I mean, he might be pissed in the Irish sense. Who knows?
A bit of both.
Season, almost.
My fury is so hot right now. I do want to get pissed because
You think Jose Mourinho's a genius and we should all shut up?
I'm getting pissed off a little bit about one element of this whole discourse around Jose Mourinho. This nonsense that Jose Mourinho's had loads of money to spend at previous clubs, and then that's the end of the argument. And then that's the end of the argument, as in like he's had loads of money to spend at previous clubs, therefore he's going to be a bad manager. It's not Jose Mourinho's fault that he's happened to manage at some of the most expensive clubs in the world, under an owner who revolutionised how clubs would spend in the Premier League, at Real Madrid, at Manchester United. That's why he's the biggest spending manager of all time, not because he's an idiot who like flaunts cash needlessly. That's the only kind of point it is. Like there's so many different elements of the Jose Mourinho appointment that you can be annoyed with, that you can point out and say, this is why I think that it will not be a success. But the fact that it's not going to be a success because he's gone to other clubs and has had tons of money at his disposal, for me, that just doesn't wash. And I think that's just, I think it's just completely missing the point of why you might think that Jose Mourinho is not a good manager.
No, the point I think a lot of people make with the money is that he's not willing to develop players. Pochettino has developed all these players at Spurs, whereas Mourinho is the opposite. He looks at a player, not for me, give us the checkbook, I'll go and buy a better player. And that's what he tried to do. He's done at all the clubs he's been at. He tried to do it at United, it didn't work. Some of the signings he made were awful. And obviously the game has moved on, his tactics haven't evolved. I was at Anfield for Liverpool, Man U, it was called Red Monday. And it was an embarrassment. If you were a Manchester United fan, it was an embarrassment. It was 0-0. But Mourinho came in with pride after holding Liverpool to a scoreless draw, because he said, here you have this so-called great attack. They didn't score a goal on us, but it was absolute poison, and that's what he'll bring. Where
I don't know if he will bring that to. I think he's got better attacking players now who are further down the line than the attacking players. Okay, so he signed Ibrahimovic, and Ibrahimovic scored a load of goals. But like, if you've got Ibrahimovic in your team,
Ibrahimovic played that night. Rashford effectively played as a second left back that night as well.
Yeah, and so I don't think that he's going to make Eriksson play that way. I don't think he's going to make Harry Kane play that way. I don't know if Lucas Moore is going to be his type of player.
Too small.
I'm not sure. I can't.
He can't defend a corner, Ger.
I mean, will Zlatan be coming back now? Who knows? He possibly will. But you're saying about the loads of money. He spent 30 million on Eric Bailly in 2016. Didn't ever really turn him into anything. Spent 27 on Mkhitaryan. Obviously spent 90 million on Pogba. Didn't really find a use for Pogba over the time that he was there. Signed Victor Lindelof for 31 million. Signed Lukaku for 75 million. Signed Matic for 40 million. Signed Alexis Sanchez. On purpose.
He signed Alexis Sanchez on purpose, which at the time looked like a decent deal.
Signed Fred.
Lukaku
52 million.
Lukaku at the deal looked like. Lukaku at the time looked like a good deal.
Lukaku didn't look like a good deal at any point.
It
was always a bad signing.
No, it wasn't really. It really wasn't though. It really wasn't.
It's a horrible signing. If all you want are some goals that are going to be tap-ins, and your style of play is going to be 1990s football when you've got Alan Shearer in your team, fair enough. But he was no Alan Shearer for a start.
As it turned out,
the team. No, we knew that because we knew that.
Didn't really though.
He had a terrible record against
striker. He was
in big games. Lukaku had a terrible record, and that continued when he signed for Manchester United. He scored against Chelsea, and the stat came up that was his first goal in God knows how long against one of the big six. Lukaku couldn't do it in big games, and he's gone off to Italy and he's scoring goals, but when you actually watch him play in the Champions League for Inter, he's not very good.
My point is that
Fred's
a disastrous signing, and if the sum of money that they paid for Fred is a disastrous. My point is that all these figures are being thrown out there as just an extra stick to beat Jose Mourinho with, when he's only one cog in this machine that was running Manchester United into the ground in the transfer market.
Yes.
There was the Manchester United tax, there was bad talent identification which came from above Jose Mourinho's head. And really, if you're saying that, he needs money to succeed, well actually, he needed money to run Manchester United into the ground. So this lack of money that he may potentially have under Daniel Levy
could be a good thing.
Could potentially be a good thing.
No, because then he'll get annoyed with Levy. What he'll do is he's come in and said, this is such a talented squad, it's great. So he's lip service. What will happen is he'll look at the players and he'll think, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. He'll go back to Levy. You know the way I was wrong.
Who signed Zlatan for Manchester United? Jose Mourinho. Who signed Wesley Sneijder, Samuel Eto'o, Milito for Inter Milan, Jose Mourinho. Who signed Didier Drogba, Ashley Cole, Diego Costa for Chelsea, Jose Mourinho.
The Inter Milan team had like the Arsenal equivalent of the back four that Arsene Wenger inherited. They were a team of born winners who were animals. There was an animalistic quality to that Inter team, which perfectly aligned with him, and he was the perfect manager for it. At that time,
you're basically using that.
Manager.
You're using the Arsene Wenger arguments. The thing that, like, this is about the transfer market here, Ger, and you're saying Arsene Wenger inherited a back four. Arsene Wenger was unbelievable in the transfer market.
Because he had first mover advantage on buying cheap French players before everybody realised the French players were good.
That's just the situation you're in. You can't blame a guy for taking advantage of
Wenger
a great.
That was great. Yeah, but you're saying that
Jose Mourinho was
in
in a similar situation. Like
it has the same first mover advantage on what basis? When was the last time Mourinho was very successful in the transfer market?
I'd say go back to the year he won. Zlatan, I actually think stunted the development of the likes of Rashford and Martial. So that's typical Mourinho short-termism.
Yeah.
And I think back to
fool's gold.
Where I'll give him his dues.
Is that the real reason why Martial is stunted, though?
Well, maybe Martial's like now that he's getting games, looks much better.
Pretty clear. Well, like I was reading Daniel Taylor the weekend saying that Martial's attitude, actually there is merit in the argument that his attitude leaves a lot to be desired. A lot of different managers have said that about Anthony Martial. I'd agree on Marcus Rashford. I think Marcus Rashford still has the potential to be absolutely world class. We actually had a debate about Marcus Rashford versus Kylian Mbappe at one point on this show. So that is like the standard at which that
of our show, really.
That is
the diamond of our show.
I got slated.
That is how well reviewed he is.
If Rashford was at City, I think he'd be unbelievable under Pep Guardiola.
Yes.
And I got slated because I said he could be as good or not better than Raheem Sterling. But I think the last thing he did well in the transfer market was his second term at Chelsea. He came up short in 2014. He went out. He said, "Get me Cesc Fabregas and get me Diego Costa," and he won the league the next season. That was it, though. But since then,
he was Spurs manager at that time, Mauricio Pochettino. It's not that long ago. You know, it's like we speak about Jose Mourinho's success as if it was this prehistoric thing. He literally won the Premier League while Mauricio Pochettino was Spurs manager.
Yeah, look, exactly. And since then, it looks like whatever magic he had, the spell has been broken. So he's got to get it back really quickly, and his opportunity to get it back is not going to come through the transfer window. It doesn't look like it is going to be on the basis of his ability to organise this team and to play football. And look,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're saying he's going to do it.
I'm saying that people who say that using the money and the transfer market as a stick to beat Jose Mourinho with is completely pointless because you actually might be wrong. He's actually got an okay record at different parts, okay, but his
Manchester United record is horrific because if he'd bundled all the money of the shit defenders together, he would have been able to sign one good defender, and they could have sold that goalkeeper who doesn't want to be there and bought another goalkeeper who does want to be there and who would be thrilled to play for Man United. They could have revolutionised that team with the money they had instead of spending the money on Pogba for some vanity project, because it seems like it was some kind of weird, I'm better than Ferguson, I can make Pogba work at Man United.
Well, the good news is that there will be no Paul Pogba signing for Tottenham Hotspur. That is what it all comes back to. That I just find the whole transfer market elements to the Jose Mourinho appointment and the debate around that just pointless, and that's what's making me angry.
One of the key aspects of the job. It's like the only thing you can change.
Well, it's not the only thing you can change.
Your playing staff. Okay, sorry. You can change your tactics if you want. Show me where Jose Mourinho is going to change his tactics. Fair enough. But like you can, the key about being a manager is that you get control of your playing staff.
And the key point that Spurs have fallen down in recent months is that they've actually down tools for Mauricio Pochettino. They haven't executed his game plan well. That's an attitude thing. You can't buy attitude in the transfer market, as John Giles might say, or whatever. I'm not sure he's ever said that. But what you can do is a manager can actually change that. And I think there will come a short-term bounce of attitude.
Yeah, but they haven't won a Premier League game in 2 months. Of course there's going to be an upturn in their fortunes. So if they go and they beat West Ham on Saturday, some people, he's already had an instant impact. What he's going to do, Spurs were a pressing team under Pochettino. They've completely regressed. They just look spent because they didn't invest in the squad. Pochettino didn't get any players brought in 2018. The players he brought in this summer, pretty much injured. And Ndombele's played a bit. Lascelles is only coming in. Sessegnon hasn't played. So what Mourinho is going to do, because this is what he does, he's going to get a team that will play with very little pressing. They're going to sit deeper. They're going to play in the counter-attack. They've got players that can play in the counter-attack, the likes of Lucas Moura, Heung-min Son, Harry Kane. these lads can do it. But then you're going away from the exciting brand of football Tottenham played.
Why is Sessegnon not playing? Has he been injured the whole time?
He has been injured, yeah.
Right, okay.
And he's got Danny Rose there. He's obviously, he can use his fullbacks to...
Danny Rose is grand,
Yeah.
but Sessegnon has potential to be world class, doesn't he?
He does, but he just didn't have a very good season for Fulham in the Premier League. We had high hopes for him last season.
I'm sure he's looking forward to the type of arm around the shoulder treatment that Luke Shaw got, you know?
Yeah, where he stands on the touchline and coaches you through a game.
What are you doing, Luke Shaw?
Maybe he'll respond well to that. Maybe Tottenham's players can actually kind of realise that they're full-grown adults getting paid to play professional football and that their manager is entitled to have a go at them.
Lads, Poch has been terrible for 12 months, says the Francie Brady. Hello, pig. On YouTube. They stumbled into the Champions League final, got brushed aside. Balance up your analysis of the man. He's good, is not great yet. In comments.
Yeah, no, I think they were right to get rid of Pochettino. Absolutely.
Now?
Yeah. I
At
think
this point?
It wasn't working. It doesn't mean Pochettino's a bad manager, but
Did he not earn the right to try and fix it?
I just think that something happened last season where the players gave up on him. I don't think it helped. Maybe
It turns out they put cameras in the dressing room when he flipped the lid.
that would annoy you.
I mean, come on, cameras in the dressing room.
Yeah, but I
In
think
his office.
just, do you know, one of the turning points was that Burnley game where they got themselves into a position to get into the title race. They beat Burnley and they're 2 points behind. They've done this, by the way, without Harry Kane. Harry Kane comes back, equalises against Burnley. Burnley ended up scoring. Pochettino flips at Mike Dean, gets a touchline ban. They start losing games. Bit of a freak result, that away game in Ajax. Just, it was mental what happened that night. It was the night after Liverpool had beaten Barcelona as
Ajax
well.
weren't great either, it turns out.
No, and then, well, basically he went direct. He brought on Llorente and he bullied the Ajax defenders, the young Ajax defenders. So that kind of bought him a bit of time, but just things that he said, it didn't send out a very good message. I didn't think it sent out a good message that he started Harry Kane in the Champions League final.
No, fair point.
Like, you knew, like, I can tell you now from a Liverpool point of view, when the team sheets came in and you saw Harry Kane was starting, like, you know, you pretty much knew that's it, it's game over. Spurs aren't winning this.
All right, so you think they did the right thing in getting rid of him. You just don't think they appointed the right manager. You think they've appointed the right manager, and Mourinho is going to be a stunning success. You're saying top 4 this season and potentially a Champions League winner by the end of the year. That's what I heard.
And that's what I am saying. Let's go for it. Yeah, why not? Let's go what you said, Jerry. Why don't you just plant that opinion in my head? And let's
you were making up John Giles quotes 2 minutes ago, so come on.
They actually,
come on, tell us what you actually think.
They will have a good chance in the Champions League.
I actually think that it will result in an upturn of fortunes. Of course, it is going to end in disaster.
They're
eventually.
3 points off 5th. Like, of course, they're going to finish like really high up the table. So tell me what you actually think is going to be upturning fortunes. Get off the fence.
They're going to qualify for the Champions League next season. Spurs are going
How?
to. They're going to qualify. They're going to finish in the top 4.
Or not by winning the competition.
They're not going to win a Champions League. They're not the best team in Europe. They're not near the best team in Europe. And there was a couple of quirks of fortune last year that saw them end up in the Champions League final.
June 2021, when Harry Kane is being sold, who is the Spurs manager?
Not Jose Mourinho. It'll fizzle out midway through next season. June 2021. Let's go for that. Jose Mourinho will be Spurs manager 2021. But at the start of the 2021-22 season, that's when it'll all go downhill quickly.
He won't have got his transfer targets. He gave the list to Daniel Levy. He said, there you go out and do the shopping. Daniel Levy comes back with magic beans, and then doesn't work.
Magic beans leads to a golden egg-laying hen and a talking harp, so, you know.
I thought it was a beanstalk.
Yeah, the top of the beanstalk.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
You got to climb that beanstalk.
You got to climb the beanstalk first, though, Ger.